Alright, so I'm gonna try to make this one a lot shorter. I'll try to keep it under like say 10 minutes because I had, like I said, made one beforehand and it was actually ended up being like 35 minutes long. I just don't have the time to be doing that again, but I will go through because I think there are some very a few things here that I really wanted to show you, some important things that are easier to show through videos that I found from other people. First off being this, your rollout out of a spawn here, what you would preferably want to do is go with your three teammates here. I know keeping with the tank is normally a very good thing, but if you get here earlier with your teammates, especially with your CO speed boost, allowing you to get there even faster through the faster route here, your Rhine should theoretically be over here with them because it allows you to take to set up wherever you want and take the better positions here, like like your Ash is doing. Not sure what that hat's doing here. All right, so, and then you end up going AFK for a couple seconds. I'm not sure if you're eating or checking your phone or something, but it causes you to get to the fight a little bit late here, which then ends up causing you to be late because your Bastion's already here taking damage, right? And you're trying to get to a point where you can heal him. If you had come with them, even without your Rhine, you could be down here at a spot where you can easily heal him as he's taking damage there. And so this is the first spot I wanted to show, mostly right here, right? This would be a spot where you do not need to use Suzu, right? The only thing that you have, right, your Rhine is up here blocking the Bastion, and the only thing that can actually hit your Bastion at this point is the Sigma, who has his defensive grasp ability up. So this is not a spot where you need to use Suzu because he's behind a wall. He's now half HP since you've been healing him, and there's only one person that can shoot at him. So if the Sigma were to, say, pull out his rock and try to rock and then do his combo on him, then that would be a good time to use it. But until you see him pull rock up, like, he's probably not going to do anything at this point because he's already overextended past his team. So yeah, I mean, here's was the main part of that I wanted to show. This, I don't think there's much else that goes on in this fight that's really worth talking about. I think you do a pretty good for the most part. Oh, right here actually. Okay, so this is something. It's a bit unfortunate, right? But your Lucio dies here because you were like a little bit off with your. You know, if you would have had better reaction with it, you might have gotten it off. Otherwise. So the two essentially things that you could have done here, right? So right here, when you think is okay, I immediately need to Suzu, right? So either you can maybe get both of them right, but at least you need to hit one or the other, right? Immediately, either Suzu your Lucio or your Rhine. Either you could keep your Lucio from dying here, which would probably be the right call since your Rhine can just put his shield up, right? Everybody is here in front of him. He has his shield. He can just put it up if he needs to. But either that or clearing the ante. So either one of these would have been fine, but you end up missing your Lucio with it, and because you're too late with that, then you don't have it for your Rhine. So that's why my main thing is I think, yeah, your Suzu use during this could be worked on very much. And it doesn't really matter in the end because the Bastion comes through, right? And your team's probably going to get rolled, but it's just something to keep in mind for later, later games and whatnot. And then this is where your Tracer starts the staggering, right? Where your team likes to go in kind of one by one, and a lot of times this isn't your fault and not much you can do, right? But this is kind of up to her to get out, and you maybe could have used a Suzu there, but more than likely she's dead regardless because she decided to go into their team before anybody else from your team was here, right? Your Lucio also should not be up here. You guys should be pushing either pushing with your Ryan, or your Ryan should be pushing with you. Your Ryan pins in. There's nothing you can do here, right? He pins into a Bastion and he's decimated. The only thing is just, yeah, with this, like, either your team should move to your Rhine or your Rhine should move to your team. If your Rhine just goes off by himself and he charges in, it happens. Not much you can do. But then at this point, you should be backing up because you already lost your tank and your tracer is gone, right? So I just get out, you know, and your Lucio dies, and yeah, there's, you know, your Ashe is sitting here when again she should just be leaving, and then she ends up paying for it. And then your Echo comes in here and does the same thing, and so I think I'm just gonna skip a little bit ahead. Yeah, this was one here, right? Where you could just stick with your Rhine, right? If you come into this room and stay with your Rhine, right, because he's not coming with you, you could just hide in here, right? And then just heal him up. And then if things get dicey, if the Sigma comes around the corner or whatever, then you can just teleport out to your Torb, right? Like, there's better positions to teleport out, while right now, if you teleport in, right, then you have to use a cooldown to get in. And while, like, otherwise, Kiriko's really good at getting out of sticky situations. So that would be a good spot where you could have been, you know, that entire time. Like, if you had been in here, he would have been full health right now if you had been healing him the whole time. And he would be pushing out, but instead your Torb is now jumping out, and your Rhine is forced to stay in here because he hasn't been healed up yet. Also, there's no reason to be jumping around and whatnot. And like at this point where you're just sitting in here and he's holding his shield up, you know, just, I mean, you don't have to stand still, but you don't need to be jumping around evading things. Just focus on aiming and healing your Rhine completely. Also, Suzu only does 50 health when it's healing, so it's more for its invulnerability is where it gets its real value, while the 50 healing it does from it is not much. So don't use it when you're healing. Use it to save people, or when you think they're going to be taking like really big amounts of damage. And this, I mean, you could be pushing out here again with your Rhine. They end up going and getting lifted, but so it doesn't really matter. But there would have been a chance for that otherwise. So yeah, you're down 2. Again, this isn't really a winnable fight, just you and your Lucio just back up here. Because it's, not so huge right now, but when you get to the point where people are really good with their shots, right? I mean, there's a Sigma right here that could one-hit combo you if he hits you with his rock, and then his primary projectiles, he hits both of those as well. He can instantly just kill you with 2 hits. So that's just something to be aware of when he's here. And then you have a BAP up here on high ground, right? They have an Ana that could be sniping at you. There's just a lot of things that they have a very pokey team comp, and so it's not something that you really want to be, like, in line of sight of whenever possible. Especially if it's, you know, just you and your Lucio, just immediately turn and try to get out. Oh, that was bad. So go ahead to here. Here's another example of where Suzu was used, but the only thing really shooting right now, the only thing you have to worry about is this Ana right here, right? That's at like 20% health, right? So her having your Orisa anti, there's no point in really using, like, this isn't a huge thing right now because of where the, you know, you've already won the team fight. But if you hadn't won the team fight and you're in a situation like this, now you have 15 seconds where Suzu is unusable. So that's just something to keep in mind whenever you're using Suzu. And this is something, like, I'm plat 4, and I still like to, you know, think, like, because there's lots of times where I use Suzu too, right? And it's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be the right time, right? But just be actively thinking, like, okay, did that end up getting value, or was there some time in the next 15 seconds where I could have used this and it would have been, like, a lot more effective. So that one's pretty over, and then their Torb just kind of, they really like to have flank Torb on the team for some reason, which was interesting, I guess. Okay, so this was something, not right here, a little bit farther, I believe. I wanted to show. Maybe it's later on. Oh, I think it's this next fight here. It must be. Or Or no, no. Okay, so here's a prime example of especially at this point where the Ramatra jumps down. This is what your team does a lot that ends up being a big part of why you guys lost the game. Is it's you and your Junkrat. You see how this looks from an outside perspective, right? There's 4 of them here, right? There's a double pocketed Bastion and their tank, and then there's you two. So you guys decided to push the bot, right, because of the rest of your team died, and going to this point is good, right, because you want to get the forward spawn for them, but then you guys need to back off of the bot because there's only 2 of you here, and they had the closer of the 2 like respawns. They had earlier respawns, so like their team's already here. This is not a good situation to be in, so just be aware, especially like if you don't realize it beforehand, that okay, playing the objective is not something that's helpful, right? Because if you moved it from here to here, just you and the Junkrat, right, but then you die and then cause the next fight to go over, then they get to push the the bot maybe all the way back here or over here before your team actually gets here for a real fight that they can win. So it's just something to keep in mind, trying not to stagger, because there are times like this where it feels like, yeah, we need to stay on the objective and contest the robot. But if losing the if you lose this fight now and then stagger, then they actually get more progress with the robot than you guys do by staying alive. Because I believe you both end up dying here. Yeah, so... Oh, and okay, so this right here is huge. Right here. Because I wanted to do more stuff that impacts the game, right? So this is a point where your Junkrat dies and you are alone in the enemy team, right? All you need to do here is just simply go in here and come over here and then teleport either to your Torb or your Orisa. Coming to 1v1 the Torb at close range is just not it's not a good idea. Like, unless you are absolutely sure you can win a 1v1, which Kiriko against a DPS, probably not going to happen most of the time, then you shouldn't be taking 1v1s with them whenever possible, right? Like, a 1v1 like this is just not great for you. Like, a longer range, you'd actually be better against a Torb if he doesn't have a turret up, but a close range, especially if he used his shotguns, like, you're just easily dead. So the problem that comes in here is now your team is coming in, right, as you two have died, and now it is a 2-on-4 with the Torb coming. So the only person that's actually doing the correct thing here is the Lucio, where he ends up staying out of this fight completely. And you may think that, I mean, it seems, right, like, he's not doing anything, right? He's just sitting out there and not doing, participating in the team fight. But that's actually the better move, because these two come in here, and then they end up running in by themselves, right? Even though they know their team is dead, and you even see Orisa over here doing her javelin spin, right? Trying to stay alive as long as possible. All that's doing is keeping her from respawning. Like, she just needs to die, respawn, and get back together, right? Like, the best play there would have been for them to not go in the first place. And that just keeps on. It happens a few times during this game that you guys... Let's see, because... Yeah, so see how they've gotten the bot all the way over here? Because you guys died all the way over here. And then the rest of your team came in, and then they lost. So with everybody respawning now, the amount of progress you got with the bot, they actually ended up getting more progress on the enemy team. So just keep in mind when staggering is a big thing. Also, at this point, I would not drop into the Ramatra, because there's dropping into the range of their tank is just an easy way to die. Luckily, your team comes in for this. I believe then... Not sure at what point. There's one point that I really wanted to show, if I can find it. I believe you guys push, yeah, right around here. Good Suzu, by the way. Very good that you got the timing down for that. Okay, so this right here, there's something that happens, right? So at this point, all you want to do is heal, right? You get very, very high increased amounts of healing. a Ramatra here who can just block, right? Your Suzus do 40 damage per shot to the body. It's a 120, so if you're hitting multiple headshots, but if he's blocking, you're just hitting body shots, and he gets, I believe it's 80% damage reduction. So shooting the Ramatra right here, if he can just start blocking at any point, and it's not really going to do anything. Unless he gets very low, you're getting gonna get a lot more value healing your Orisa here, which is good. But this right here, you notice how you walked out. So here's his purple, his ring right here. That's how far his ultimate range extends. So running in here, you're actually making yourself take damage, which is not good. And luckily you can back out of it, but that's just one of those things that to pay attention to when you're doing it. This also right here, this part right here is huge. So you'll watch your Orisa, she comes in, right? And here is fine, right? Deal damage. Because she's ulted, she killed 2 of them. She was fully immune. So here you can actually, as she's ulting, she's full health. She has her overhealth from her ult, and she has her fortify from her ult. So now would actually be a time to shoot, since she is full health, shoot at all of these, you know, people that are in here, because they're about to take damage. And if you can chip, like if you hit like 1 hit on the Mercy here, even a body shot, she would have died right away. But, or 2, I guess, but yeah, that's, so you do good finishing on this, right? It's just something you could have been shooting at a little bit earlier is all. At this point, so you missed your Suzu, right? And then you go and you heal into their enemy team, which is where the tracking I'm talking about. Notice where your cursor is, and you continue to just shoot healing at their team. And maybe it was just a misclick, which is fine. But it's something where right now you should be behind your Orisa, not ever walking in front of her if you can. I mean, their tank is ulting right here, so, and your tank is right here, so you would want to be, you know, back behind the wall here, so that if you get hit by anything, you can just walk behind cover, right? But then you can also peek out and shoot them or shoot your tank, and you don't have to worry about getting hit here. That would have been better positioning for this point. And then you can actually see your Orisa going critical here in the left of your screen, and you just keep on firing, right, at him, and your Orisa doesn't get healed, so she dies. And at this point now, he comes through, your Ramatra comes through and kills you. So the reason I think this is a big play here, is if you heal your Orisa, right, she would kill the Ramatra instead of the Ramatra killing her. And if you were playing back here, he wouldn't be able to push past her, right, because she would be, like, actively getting healed. So if you actively healed your Orisa and kept her alive, then she goes and finishes off the Ramatra, right? She doesn't die to the Ramatra, and then the Ramatra doesn't push past her to kill you. And now, instead of having, you know, they end up killing the Ramatra, but now you have 3 players, right? So you could have a full team going into this next fight, but because your Orisa dies and you die, now there's only a three players going into the next fight, and they are closer because I don't think you have the short spawn activated anymore. Maybe you do. So now again, this is what it falls into, which this isn't. I mean, again, if you two were here, this would be a full-on team fight, right? 5-on-5. But because you're staggered, now you have 3-on-5, and this puts your team at disadvantage. And again, they should be backing out right now. They've pushed the bot over to the barricade, right? They should be pulling off when they recognize, okay, the other team is here. Our teammates are way back there. We can't 3v5 this. But I'm pretty sure they end up just... I think they might end up dying here, if I remember it. Yeah, so he's already picked, and your Lucio's already picked. So now you see, like, your tank is just getting back, you just got back, and now you're already down 2 players. So it's something that if all 5 of you were here, there's a chance that you win this fight, but instead you're guaranteed to lose the next fight because they go in 3v5. It's just something, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is all your fault or anything. It's just it's things to understand, right? This would be something that was really hard to type, which is something that I wanted you to be able to see, because it's easier to visually see, right? So that's, I think that was a big part of this game, was, you know, there's nothing you can really do in this fight, so actually getting out here was, yeah, that was your best decision, right? Your Ashe is in here, but if you pocketed here and healed, you know, you'd both die and just stagger farther, right? So your Junkrat, I forgot this, yeah, your Junkrat pulls off 5-man somehow, which is, it's good. It's very lucky, but it's good. I don't remember if there's much else in this last fight. Oh, this was one, okay. So, target priority here, right? So you have overhealth on these, right? But your Lucio is still critical. I would throw your Lucio healing first, because your Diva has defense matrix, which can absorb enemies' damage that they're shooting at her if she needs it, and she's only missing maybe a fifth of her health. Like normally, yes, this would be worth healing, but since your Lucio is here critical, I would just make sure that nobody comes around and just one-shots my Lucio once his sound barrier runs out. So if you just run through one thing of healing at him and then went back to healing your tank, would be the correct thing here. But I mean, you do find him, so that's good. But it's just something that could have, you know, there was a chance that he could have died there. Your tank through this. There's no reason for her to jump into a bastion. So there were a lot of times in here where you couldn't save your tank because they just wanted to feed a lot of the game. So don't feel too bad about that.